purpose of this video is to show the solution we came up with for getting to a better fire pump for our farm. We're located on the edge of the Coast Range and the Willamette Valley. We've got agricultural land to the east of us and forest all the way to the Pacific to the west of us. This is a 6-horsepower Honda engine powering what's called a Goliath pump. It's put together and sold as a package by the CET manufacturing company in Quebec, Canada. I chose it. Well, I like the idea of the Honda motor. Thought that was good. That's something we've got a bunch of here. The pump is a high pressure pump. It's called a 2-stage, and that's important because this one's rated to get up to about 145 pounds of pressure. Honda makes some pumps that they call high pressure, but they only go to 60 or 80 pounds. And that's not that much better than the water that you normally have in your house. This is mounted on our watering trailer that we've used for years with this old tank here, and we have a Honda WX-15 that I've been running, pumping water to trees and various things. But what's a little different is this pump now is plumbed so that it can take water out of this 200-gallon tank, or it can suck water here out of this line, and this runs over to our cisterns. We have 2 in-ground cisterns. They total about 2,700 gallons of storage, and so when it's parked here and hooked up, this is a significant amount of water that's hooked up and powered, and I thought that would work pretty well. One of the features I liked is that the top of the pump, where the water comes out, you've got an inch opening on this side, an inch opening on this side, where I've got a cross fitting, and a line that goes forward and up to the hose reel on the front, and that can function as a bypass when it's parked here. And if we've got the engine going but we're not spraying at something, the water can go back into the cistern. The other line, which normally I'd have hooked up to the hose reel, well, the hose reel's not here. It's somewhere else. This is 2021 and everything is shipping late. Not the pump. The pump came surprisingly quickly, just like 2 or 3 weeks until the pump got here. But the hose reel is elsewhere. And so in the absence of the hose reel, we've got 100 foot of line down here on the ground that's flaked out and ready to use. And then the other thing we have, and this was a suggestion of my 2 nephews who are firefighters, and they said, set up a system so that you don't have to move the hoses all the time. And that seemed particularly a good idea to us because we're fairly old, and the barns and everything goes down the hill, which is so you might not mind pulling a hose down the hill, but you wouldn't want to bring it back up again in a hurry. So what we have is this line here, and this starts here and goes off and has about 4 stations and goes from the top of the highest barn down to the lowest corner of the house, and I'll show you those in a second. And then if we want to take this somewhere else, it can all detach. We can pull this off. We can detach this between those 2 valves up there. I don't know whether, yeah, you can still see those. And hook the truck up to it, and we can go down the road. So it has a bunch of features. It's nice to have a tank which is above your pump, because what that lets you do is you never have to worry about priming the pump. You pull this open and pull that open, he says, and this water is coming up through the pump. So if we started it now, we could start now and suck. Well, we could suck either from the tank, or depending on the way the valves are set, we could suck from the cistern. Let's see. Now we've got cisterns. You might have an above ground storage tank. Those work. A bunch of my neighbors have those. Or you could have a swimming pool or a pond. They're all sources of water that you could use. Okay, I've already warmed up the motor, and before that I checked the oil and the gasoline. Put the switch on to on. I don't need to choke it. The Oregon Department of Forestry requires that loggers working in the summer be able to have a pump that'll put out 20 gallons a minute at 110 pounds of pressure. And I tested this one. I got, the one time I did it, which was pointing the hose into a trash barrel and then measuring how much water I got into the trash barrel in a minute. And I didn't count the water that got all over me and everywhere else, because it's a pretty wet process. I got 125 pounds of pressure, and 26 gallons ended up in the barrel. So it does fit that criteria. Okay, the main valve that comes out of the top is 1.5 inches, and I've got hooked up to it an 1.5 inch lay flat fire hose. And if we open the valve, that comes down, goes over there. This is a hose station about 100 feet from the pump. We're on the west edge of the front barn, and we've got the 1.5 inch hose coming down. And then there's a thing called a Scotty water thief, which has threaded for 1.5 inch national hose, and then the side, which the yellow thing's screwed onto, is a 3/4 inch garden hose. And then I've got my Gilmore heavy-duty 100-foot long 3/4 inch diameter hose. This is the end of the 1.5 inch fire hose. Terminates with a fitting that lets me hook up a 3/4 inch garden hose to it. This is a red heavy-duty hose that I got. I thought I'd be wanting to use this more often, but when I got it home, decided it's very heavy and it sticks when you're pulling it. But it seems like, I mean, it's a heavy-duty good hose, but I don't think it really fits my desire to have hoses that my wife can move around if she's in the mood. And this is it laid out in large loops that don't overlap each other. And I think that's pretty good, especially if you know you're only going to be going in one direction from where the hose is laid out. The shipping is by truck, and it's paid shipping all the way to your house. And it comes in a very nice box with lots of padding, and then mounted on a pallet. So it should arrive in great shape. It looks like it's very well protected.